Matt, it's Cyber Monday, not Cyber Monday. Okay, dude. I can't believe you were on chat roulette for 5 hours straight. You are an animal. You must be exhausted. How do you even have any energy for the podcast at this point?
Is the podcast even going to be monetized now? Because the first 30 seconds...
I'm going to bleep it out. I've already thought about this in advance.
Perfect. It's stamina. You got to build yourself up. It's not a race. It's a marathon. That's all I'll say.
I always wondered what those handstands were for, Now we know.
Now we know. Now we know. Yeah.
Shall we start the podcast?
I thought we already had.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm just going to cut that bit. We'll lead in right here. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Welcome to the Level With Me podcast, the podcast where two extremely famous influencers talk about games, content creators maybe, talk about games, life, current events, things that interest us, which is mostly games and
pretty much
occasionally robots and AI and all that kind of fun stuff. Yep. Welcome to the show. Welcome Patreon members. If you guys would like to support the show, there's links to our Patreon in the description. You can come watch the show live and chat with us and tell us when we're getting our factual information incorrect. We appreciate you guys. Matt, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. I got a new phone. Not because I needed, not because I necessarily wanted one. I got a Pixel.
Oh, yeah. Nice. What version?
I got a Pixel 8.
Pixel 8, cool.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. So I had a Galaxy S8. So it's been a while since I've gotten a new phone. And then I woke up one day and it just died on me. Like I literally couldn't bring it up. Went to the carrier store. They're like, yeah, we can't do anything about this. You're going to have to buy a new phone. I'm like, oh, cool. So yeah, just dropped.
I was going to ask what motivated you, because you and upgrading technology is like, yeah.
Like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. So it was just that I had to get a phone. So cool. I decided to get, maybe not the top of the line, but something nice. It was
I think
also
I'm still
a nice
on a
cyber...
Pixel 6 or something over here. I don't know what I have. Pixel something. Okay. Pixel 6, Pixel 7.
They're probably pretty similar. Let's be real.
Well, people stopped buying phones. That's why like Verizon stock and all the other companies are like going down like crazy, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because a lot of their business was based on like, well, you got to get the next phone, man. You got to get the next phone. And now it's they're all pretty good now. They can all take great photos and do all this stuff. And
that entire cultural thing always confused me. It's like, you need a new phone every year?
Yeah.
Like
I dream of a day in which there won't be a line around the block at the Apple store when the iPhone whatever comes out.
Yeah. So iPhones are still popping though. I'm assuming.
I assume that there's always going to be a line, but did you see the videos of the Black Friday stuff where they had the news crew set up inside the Walmarts and the Targets?
That's been going on for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
But they opened the doors and nobody flooded in.
Right, but that's also been going around for a while, and I also think it's dependent on it. Yeah, it's funny because it used to be floods of people like coming in, right,
and
like
fighting, and
and now it's like, well, everything's online. Why am I gonna stress out by waking up early and going to a damn store to pick up a TV when I can just buy it off Amazon?
Yeah, and I think part of the memes that were going around now was like showing the prices like leading up to Cyber or Black Friday, and it was like. It would be $500, $500 on Black Friday, and then like a cross out of like $800 above it or something like that. And they're like, I think people are getting wise to the sales tactics.
Yes and no. I think people still fall for it. I fall for it too. That's why
What'd you buy?
Well, I bought the phone. That was one, and it was on sale technically. And I went to a website to verify like what prices are, and it was actually a decent deal. Not the lowest it's been, but it was good. Bought a new mic arm, which is not this.
Yeah. Oh man, this is the other tech upgrade that I was surprised that I didn't have to like kind of like bend your arm to do it. You were like surprisingly just like, yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Yeah, I'll buy it. Yeah. So it was kind of on sale too. It was like 20% off, which was lovely.
Nice.
Also, I just recognized that this mic just looks just like in my face, and it's not very nice looking. So I've used it for a while. It may have, like, I'm using a different base. Things are like literally falling apart. I've told you how my desk is actually almost to the point. So the side of my desk, because I have a professional setup where I'm using a, you know, when you go to church or you go to like a family gathering, they bring out the folding chairs. I'm using one of those as my desk, and I've used it for the past decade.
Oh man, yeah, so depressing, dude. That's like, and that's what I used to game on in LAN parties in the 90s.
Yeah,
dude.
so I just never grew out of that. So I've been using it for a while now. And the corner in the back right, because it was getting slightly twerked every once in a while with the mic arm, it broke off. So it's still attached technically, but
the
now
actual
it's like
corner of the table broke off because the mic arm was too much for it to take.
Yeah.
Your cardboard,
it's not like, cardboard.
It's particle board.
It's hard.
Yeah. It's whatever it is, you know.
So got a new mic arm, and I think that was about all I got so far. Yeah.
Cool.
Did you pick anything up other than your disappointment in me?
I bought some toys for my kids for the holidays, so I got those deals now, right?
Nice,
you know,
nice.
Loaded up on a pretty sweet Lego roller coaster set that it's totally for my son and not for me.
Kids
no,
or for
it's for him. He's gonna build it, Matt, and I'll play with it when he's done building it. But pretty sweet. It's like a roller coaster, some rocket ships on it, whatever.
It's whatever. Yeah,
no big deal,
kids, right? Yeah, it's just for the kids.
I thought I was going to make it through the Star Citizen sale week without buying anything. I was like, cool, I got my fleet. I don't need anything. What do I need? I don't need anything.
What did you get? All right, what did you get?
I think this is the first time I bought armor in the game, but there's
armor.
Yeah, there's some pretty sweet armor bundle that came out, and I was just like, ooh, it came with some alien armor that I'm a sucker for alien stuff in the game.
Is it like
man.
Cosmetic, or is it an actual?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's cosmetic, but it functions as like armor in the game.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But it's not inherently stronger or better, or like that vastly different compared to some of the other armor?
No, but you will be able to get it back if you lose it once they implement this system that's supposedly coming soon. So, like, you'll have it in your inventory, then you lose it, and then like you can go and reclaim it at like a little lost and found type thing.
Nice.
I don't know. I wanted it. I bought it. It was an impulse buy. I feel kind of guilty about it.
Well, how guilty do you feel about it?
I mean, I'm confessing my sins here on the podcast to everybody.
How guilty, as in what was the price tag?
Oh, maybe like 30, 35.
Okay.
It's a lot. It's a
fair amount for it's not hundreds of dollars.
These are Star Citizen prices. So like they're like, would you like a new skin? That'll be the price of an entire game.
Yeah, you could have bought in so many games on the Steam summer sale, or
my God.
autumn sale, I should say.
Yeah. Jason clarified. It is 3 sets of armors and 3 guns, but it's still
pretty pricey.
It's a lot. I'm not going to defend the price and be like, it's pretty economical. No, it's way overpriced, but yeah, the Star Citizen crowd are big spenders, man. They're blowing past 630 million. No problemo. You want to lead in with some Star Citizen leaks, or you want to tell me about your cool gameplay sessions?
Well, actually, I'd like to lead in with the Ubisoft ad. You see that the thing that was going around?
The Assassin's Creed one? Yeah, kind of. You want to explain it?
So essentially, their ads are basically invading every facet of our entire existence these days. And someone, while playing, I think it was Assassin's Creed Odyssey, correct me if I'm wrong, they, I think, went to the pause menu, or they were bringing up their map, and a giant filled the entire screen. It was an ad for another Ubisoft game in the middle of their game.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, this is not great. I personally am not freaking out about it, but it definitely made headlines everywhere because it's not a good look.
Well, especially if it's like an Assassin's Creed game, which could be a $60 full price AAA title.
Yep.
You would not expect ads to pop up there. I expect ads to pop up on the little mobile games that I download on my cell phone for free, right?
Yes.
Like, okay, I get it. You're going to hit ads at me until I buy the game.
Right.
But like, yeah, $60 Assassin's Creed game, I should not be seeing full screen ads. I get the ones where they like sneak them into billboards in game where it sort of makes sense within the,
and
like,
I'm kind of okay
world.
with that. I'm okay
Like,
with that.
Yeah, because at least it's not like...
It's background.
Yeah. If they can, especially if they can work it into the theme or something, like, fine, cool, go for it. But like, yeah, it's too much. And Ubisoft has been doing a lot of dumb stuff lately. Do you see that they're doubling down on their NFT thing?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
they doubled down on it, and then you're gonna have to correct my timeline, but I know that there was a lot of stuff going down around for Ghost Recon Breakpoint.
Yeah,
and
that was the first one.
And when that didn't work, they're like, we're taking all of our stuff from this game and it's no longer in development. Screw you. We're taking our ball and going home, kind of a situation. It sounded very pouty.
Yeah, they backed down from their dumb NFT marketplace thing.
Yeah.
And then recently, I'm a little hazy on the details, but recently they kind of like announced another game project. It was very vague. I remember that, but it was going to be Web3 based, which basically just means crypto NFT crap, you know?
Oh, baby.
And you're just like, Ubisoft, like, do we have to do this again? Did you not just get bitch slapped enough by the community? Did you forget?
How many times do we have to tell you this, old man?
Yeah, Ubisoft has been making some dumb decisions lately. And you're just like, okay, what are you guys doing? It's like nobody at the company communicates, and like the next guy with the great idea to make an NFT game was
you guys
like,
hear about NFTs?
Yeah.
No, tell us about them.
The latest crypto bro is like, listen guys, I got this great idea. And he pitches it to the marketing team, and they somehow forgot about the last one that exploded in their face. I don't think they must have sold like 2 or something. Like I can't
imagine it was very successful.
Yeah, because the whole, like, as many people have been pointing out with NFT games, is that many video games already, they've like they're precursors to NFTs. They've already done the NFT thing without needing to make an NFT crypto market, right? Because you get the super rare thing in WoW, well, you can sell it on the market. You get the super rare thing in Diablo, you can sell it on the market. You get the super rare skin in Counter-Strike, you can sell that on a market for actual cash. It creates a digital value based on the interest, right, that people have. Right. And it's backed up by the servers of the game. Now, if those game servers go down, obviously those assets have no value anymore, which is the exact same thing as any NFT setup also.
Well, you're telling me I can't take my super cute Puffle?
Is that what they call it in Hello Kitty Island Adventure? I'm not familiar with that terminology.
My Little Pony, and I can't bring that to Call of Duty? How dare you? They told me I could bring that all to any other game.
Yeah. Well, it's just so silly because they're like, it'll be backed up on the crypto, the blockchain, right? So it'll be backed up on everybody's blockchain backup stuff, so it's super secure. And you're like, yeah, but if the game goes down, it doesn't matter, right?
But also, it doesn't make any sense. Like, what other company is going to want, unless they're doing a collaboration with every other game?
Why does it need to be on a different server than the game database, right?
And why would they bring someone else's asset into their game?
Like, that part of it makes no sense at all. That sounds like a nightmare game, right?
Yeah. So
silliness. Ubisoft. So going back to
the Ubisoft ad thing, I'm not too worried about it. This may have literally just been an accident, because unless this was because only one guy I think reported on it and showed it off, so it could have been a glitch, But
it could be a system that they're prepping for the future, and that it went off by accident or something.
Yeah, at a time it wasn't supposed to go off. Who knows?
They could be prepping
they could also just be testing the waters.
Some free-to-play ideas, right? They're like, how do we monetize our free-to-play platforms better? Throw ads in people's faces, just like the mobile market. So they're going to follow in mobile footsteps, right? For like PC and console gaming potentially, which sounds horrific, but because the mobile gaming marketplace is kind of a nightmare. Like, as long as you're willing, like, if you find a good game and you pay full price for the game and there's no ads, then great. But most of it is like free to play, subscription based crap. Like, the subscription based stuff is insane. They want like $2 a month for like to play games, these crappy little games.
Everything's going subscription based. It's madness.
Yeah. They're kind of like, it's like the 90s and early 2000s of MMO gaming, but for crappy mobile games now. They're like, why are we going back to this like kind of defunct era of gaming now, but for worse games? It's wild to me.
Yeah. Also, subscriptions are now for cars too. There's some cars that have a subscription based model.
Well, I mean, like a lease? What do you mean?
No, like if you want your heated seats, you have to spend
oh my God.
They have heated seats, but you have to spend a subscription to activate them.
What companies are doing this? That's dirty.
Yeah, or like you buy the car and you don't realize that it comes with like a year of the key thing where you just need the key to be like near the car for it to work. And then after a year, it turns off and you basically have to re-up your subscription and stuff like that. It's not great.
All right. Can I tell you about the my Colt gaming news? You want to hear about the...
Absolutely. Tell me. Hit me with it.
All right. So the Church of Star Citizen.
You meant Star Citizen. I thought you were talking about Hello Kitty. Okay, go on. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, that's the other one. But
yeah.
So Star Citizen, remember all that cool server tech that they were showing off during CitizenCon that was like, we're going to mesh servers together and all that stuff. So they tested the first iteration of that, which is the replication layer at scale with a very NDA'd closed test, which of course leaked, because
of course
big news and all of that
the
stuff.
Internet.
Yeah, it leaks immediately. They literally have a leaks Discord for as soon as it comes out. It's just right there.
Yikes.
But they tested it at scale and it worked. It was buggy from what I hear, but they launched a server and then they crashed the server and then they booted up another server. And so players were playing, they get a little pause and a little message that says new server booting up. And then it resumes once that server booted up. So basically they potentially cured server crashes in Star Citizen,
dude,
which is a big deal because server crashes are a big problem for the game.
Nice.
That's awesome. Like, I'm 3 hours into this lengthy mission and I've acquired all this cool loot on my ship, and then the server crashed and you lost it all. So if people don't have to deal with that anymore once this tech gets implemented, it's a big deal.
Awesome.
And we're not out of the woods yet, but just seeing that the leak about the first test being technically successful is really good.
Yeah. I mean, that is the next, it could be the big step for all of gaming. That's the one piece of technology I am most excited about from Star Citizen. Everything, like the game looks fun and everything, but that is the one piece of tech that could really elevate not just it, but every other game, multiplayer game that wants to go large scale.
Oh, I finished the Blue-Eyed Samurai show that we were talking about last week.
What did you think?
Solid, man. It's fantastic.
Good.
Whole way through.
It really is.
I had a couple issues with the very last episode, just being a little silly here and there. But overall as a package, like really one of the top animes I've seen in quite a while.
Right?
Yeah.
I went into it I heard a couple of rumblings with my community and people say, hey, you should check it out. And I watched it. I was like, what? Where did this come from? It's gorgeous. It's incredible animation. It's adult. So it kind of respects the viewer as an adult.
There's lots of breasts, lots of penises.
Yeah. Yeah. And sure. And
I just want to make sure everybody knows
great story.
What's coming. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, a lot of that stuff is animated too, funnily enough.
Yeah, it's possible. It's one of the more kinky animes I've seen in a while, where I was just like, dang, like feudal Japan was kinky. Like, this is totally fake. But, I have heard stories about the octopus thing, so.
Yep. The octopus threw me for a loop. What is it? What is it about octopi?
Yeah, octopi. Yeah, we do need to use the correct pluralization here. I think we sold the show to half the viewers right there. Like the octopus thing, they're like, I'm already Googling it now. Let's find out.
It's great. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, great. Really fun combat. It's the Kill Bill vibes really start to hit later in the season.
Now do you understand what I meant about Kill Bill?
Yeah, and they started like blasting some sick Metallica covers and stuff during the combat, and I was just like, I'm vibing right now. I'm vibing. Yeah, it's a good show. I'm curious about the sequel, because they leave it as a cliffhanger.
Yep, but it's like it pretty well wraps up for the season. Like if there's no other season 2, like I'd be okay with it because it was just a good show. It was
fantastic. Yeah, I kind of want more shows to do. I've noticed a lot of British television does like a planned 2 to 4 season run of a show, and then that's like the plan. They're like, it doesn't matter if it's a huge show, we're gonna wrap it up at season 3, because if we try and carry this on like Walking Dead, it's just gonna turn into garbage eventually.
Oh yeah. You know? Well, not only do you have the Walking Dead situation where it just never seems to end, or you have the situation where Netflix just cancels it.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of that lately. Or they don't respect the original source material, and then your star actor quits. Yeah. And nobody knows what show I'm talking about other than definitely the biggest doesn't Netflix with debacle ever.
Titcher.
Matt, the quick thinker over here.
I just rhymes got that silver with Witcher?
Tongue, baby. Titcher.
Well, I didn't want to say bitcher or something like that, you know?
Titcher. Yes. The good old show Titcher.
The classic.
I will be watching the next season, but I'm also not, I've never read the source material, so I can't say I'm a stickler for it. I really enjoyed season 1 and season 2 a lot. Season 3 was decent. I think definitely worth watching if you enjoyed the first 2.
I'll need to watch season 3. I don't know.
Did you hear that spin-off was terrible? I didn't watch it, but they did the Witcher spin-off on Netflix too.
They did a spin-off?
Yeah. I forgot what it was called. Yeah,
I saw an anime for it, but
no, it was a live action spin-off.
It was a live action spin-off of The Witcher.
Yeah, apparently had like I saw the reviews and it was like 0% Rotten Tomatoes.
See that. All right. I didn't watch it, but I did see I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like everybody hated
Came
it.
Out of
so
nowhere,
I was like, I'll skip that.
No one cared. Yeah, I skipped that entirely. Apparently it just wiped it from my brain too.
Yeah.
But they are bringing in an animated show and they're getting the original voice actor for the game, which is like makes perfect sense, right? Like they already have the voice actor from the game. That's like the easiest transition. It's like, oh yeah, totally, let's go. So that's exciting.
That is cool. The Netflix anime stuff there's been some gems in there. It's been a lot of misses, but there's been a couple little fun shows in there that I've just been like, oh, that's cool that Netflix just sponsored an anime. Although some of them are really cheaply done, where you're just like, okay, like enough of this cheapo anime. Like,
yeah,
how little effort can we put in to convey movement?
Yes, for sure.
Felt like we're watching episodes of Neon Genesis at a point. You know, I was like, is this the elevator scene in Neon Genesis?
I don't know what that is, but I'll act like I do.
Wait. Mr. Crunchyroll subscription over here doesn't know what I'm talking about?
No, I actually don't know what you're talking about.
Wait, hang on. You don't know what Neon Genesis is?
You don't gotta shame me. I know what Neon Genesis is. I've just never seen it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just I'll explain it very briefly then. Towards the very final season, I want to say, or some of the later seasons, production for the show was hitting major hiccups and funding and whatever. They were just running into issues. And there were scenes that were like 3 to 4 minutes. I don't know how long. They're so long, of like people standing in an elevator with the elevator looping animation in the background and not talking to each other. And like,
they're not even talking to each other?
Not talking. So you're watching it and you think your like TV broke or something, or like the video broke.
No.
Yeah, things got pretty trashy for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, which is wild considering it's one of the like most acclaimed anime shows of all time. You're like, whoa.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
But also kind of hilarious at the same time.
Yeah. Have you seen that Battlefield 5's more popular than Call of Duty?
What is happening with Battlefield? Is Battlefield just having a resurgence? Are people just, they got an itch for the fields of battle and now it's popping off? What is going on?
I don't know. I'm kind of annoyed, to be honest, that when I was playing Battlefield 5, like during its heyday, that everybody was like, this game sucks. And now they're all like, it's the greatest game ever, and it's way more popular than ever. I'm like, where the hell were you when I was playing the game and like enjoying the game and having fun with it? And they're like, no, it sucks. It's bad.
To their credit, it was pretty bad at launch, and it got significant. I think Battlefield 5 is legitimately a solid title now. They made really great improvements over the years, and I only really started playing it and getting involved with it like after the 2-year dev cycle.
Yeah,
I didn't even really touch it too much. So I played a lot at launch. It was okay. It wasn't great. Bad for most descriptions. And then gave it like 2 years and came back and was like, yeah, this is pretty fun.
That's the problem is DICE is, they screw up their launches so bad. They get so much bad PR around them. And the people, like the hardcore fans will stick with it, but it scares everybody else away from the title who is like, I thought I would buy it, but I only got $60 to spend this holiday season and this is getting panned. So I'm going to buy the game that's not getting panned and play that instead. And so they lose all of these players, and then DICE DICE generally gets their games into much better playable states within a few months after launch. It's not like 2042 was a bit of an exception there, but Battlefield 5 fixed itself relatively fast and then got much better over the course of the next like couple years. But yeah, it had to like go on sale and then be like not the trendy thing anymore for people to be like, oh yeah, it's cool now. I'm playing it now.
I think a lot of people have also forgotten the horrible ad campaign, the marketing for it, because it's really funny how impactful trailers are. Like you wouldn't think that it would, but it really matters. Like everyone remembers the Battlefield 1 trailer being incredible, and then Battlefield 5's trailer comes out, which is honestly was more true to form of what Battlefield really is. It's chaos, right? It's just it's destruction, it's mayhem. But because they had the woman with the like weird,
you didn't know what it was, right? You're like, what the heck am I looking at?
Right.
They have blue face paint.
Yeah, it was a very
one guy's got
kind
a katana.
Of like an alternate. Yes, the katana. It's like an alternate history kind of World War II.
Yeah.
Technically, maybe those people existed during World War II, but they weren't all like in the same battlefield at the same time.
Those people didn't exist. The prosthetic arm that looked like that existed, but it wasn't like somebody who was out sniping with it or something.
Right.
It was just like this person got their arm blown off in World War II, and here's the prosthetic. They weren't like, get back out there, soldier.
I think so. I think they had an image problem where a lot of Battlefielders want that more realistic vibe, even though Battlefield is not a realistic game at all. It's super casual and arcadey, but
you want it to look realistic.
Yes, they want it to feel authentic.
Snapshot should look like a cool moment from a World War II battle.
They want it to be authentic, and that's not what that game was at launch at all. It didn't feel like an authentic World War II experience. And while I get why DICE wanted to go that route, because that's what sells, right? Those goofy skins eventually become the thing that is like their biggest seller for live service.
It doesn't mix well with historical shooters though, right? Because you're like, no, I want an authentic historical shooter, but also I want to be a clown in combat. Like, no, like those audiences or those wants usually don't overlap, and they upset the people who want something that looks like World War II. And then they're like, is that guy literally on fire running around? Oh, that's his skin. Cool. Yeah. Super cool.
I think if they did a better job with their image at the beginning, or it's like, this is an alternate history World War II or something, that may have helped out a little bit. But
they could have done alternate. That would have been kind of badass if they did an alternate history Battlefield. That would have been down for it.
Give me a steampunk World War II game. Are you kidding me? With like spider tanks and stuff like that? It'd be dope.
Like the World War I that never ended, and then like all that crazy like.
See, this is like these are cool ideas, right? Like you can still do that, and you can still go wonky with it, but you need to go all in, and you can't be like it's still authentic, but it's not, right?
Yeah. So they screwed up horribly. The reveal thing, they had like Trevor Noah hosting it, which was just a really bad idea.
Forgot about Trevor Noah's appearance. Yeah.
It was such a just like, you guys are very like in your bubble over there at DICE. You don't quite know what you're doing. And then, I remember watching it and not understanding that it was a World War II game. Like I recognized a lot of the Panzer tanks and the Tiger tank and whatever in the trailer, and the V2s flying in and blowing up. But also I was like, it must be alternate history or like a mashup of different ideas or something, and like, oh, that's bad marketing. And then I remember talking to a dev afterwards and him saying that he also didn't understand what the game was after watching the trailer. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh boy.
So you learn a lot about the dev process on like just how far behind some of those things are when they're like, all right, it's coming out holidays. And the devs are like, what's the game about?
Who am I?
Yeah.
Where are we?
Yeah. Anyway, Battlefield 5 is huge right now. It passed 100,000 concurrent players on Steam.
That's wild.
Dwarfing Call of Duty. I should say it's on the Black Friday sale. So it's it was like
$4.
$3 or $4. Yeah, depending on where you are. But so you can get like BF5, BF1, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, all for like $4 each. If you haven't played those games, huge. I mean, that's an insane sale. Like, go for it, obviously. But it is cool to see such a big resurgence in those titles. There are cheaters in BF5 though.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I'm gonna probably play some tonight, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
not the cheaters, but because
you just kind of have to pretend that there isn't some dude at the top of the scoreboard who's like 90-1.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, I'm just gonna pretend that he's not there and that this is a fun, fair match.
I like how you mentioned that it has more than. Does it actually have more than Call of Duty?
Yeah, I mean that'll change in a little bit, but
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's also because even Lethal Company, that $10 game, that indie title has 93,000 concurrent right now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and the crazy thing is, it's funny because Battlefield 2042 is also seeing a surge because of the sale, but not as much as Battlefield 5. Battlefield 5 came out, I think, in 2018.
That sounds right.
So like a 2018 game is now topping the charts of like, more people playing it than the latest COD, which is pretty insane. It is pretty
wild.
I don't know if that's a universal statistic, but at least according to Steam charts, which probably does represent a lot of the rest of the community, but it's hard to know.
I think it's also a problem with there's not a lot of new, fun, interesting FPS multiplayer games.
Yeah.
Multiplayer games used to just be like the bee's knees. They were everywhere. Like it was super exciting for me because that was my bread and butter. It was always just multiplayer.
Same.
And now we wait forever, or you're just playing the same ones you've been playing for the last decade because they're all live services.
Yeah. It's I think the trends are changing, right? So it was like everything was Battlefield and Call of Duty, and those were like the two big first-person shooters, and then Counter-Strike and whatever. But it was like this kind of casual competitive to hyper-competitive FPS games that were dominating the market. Then Royale stuff came out. Then it sort of bled over into extraction shooter stuff, and that's been all the rage forever. And now I think that hype is dying down just a little. Obviously, there's still massive games, like Apex and Warzone and PUBG and all that. They're still huge games, but I think the hype from it is dying down enough where people are like, oh yeah, remember how much fun it was to just hop on with your friends as a squad in Battlefield and like blow up tanks and helicopters and like fight for flags? Like that was actually a pretty good time.
It is fun too.
Yeah.
It is a good time.
God, I hope the next one is good.
Yeah. But I just in general for multiplayer games, it feels like we're in a bit of a lull because it's been a couple years. Like Overwatch, original Overwatch, like the big title, that came in like 2016.
Yeah, but then Overwatch 2.
Yeah, because Overwatch 2 took over the world and everyone was super hyped for it, right? That's kind of my point, is that it doesn't seem like there's a lot of hype around. The only game I'm looking forward to first person shooter multiplayer wise is the finals.
Yeah. I mean, for multiplayer, that's a good point, because I was like, right? Stalker's on my list, but that's a solo player game.
There's a lot of great singles.
Cool co-op and stuff. Yeah, you're right. I'm actually quite excited for the finals. I think it's got a real chance at being a staying power game. But
me too.
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, it's a hard market to break into, right? Because you see a lot of devs try it, and you can tell that they're going to fail before they even launch, because you're like, it's a cool concept, but you didn't take it all the way. And you're going up against Call of Duty and Battlefield and
they
all these other
early.
established titles, and they launch it too early. Yeah, and you're like, what were you expecting? You know, it's wild from the consumer perspective when you just see like a 30-person dev team launch a game, and you're like, this is going to fail, and fail spectacularly. It's going to be dead in a week, you know? Because it's so risky, right? Doing multiplayer for those big genres, because you need a regular supply of players to make the game work. And if those people aren't there, then you literally have a game that doesn't work anymore, and you can't get legacy sales like a single player where you're like, well, you don't need anybody else. Or even if it's a co-op, you know,
and that might be
you
what's
and your
happening.
friend and download the co-op, and then that's all you need to make the game work, right? You don't need 10,000 concurrent players to fill servers and make the game playable and have matchmaking quick, you know? So I think a lot of devs are starting to figure that out, but I still see them making those mistakes where they got games coming up, and Ubisoft has got their COD killer, quote unquote, right? That they're still kind of delaying and whatnot.
I'm excited for XDefiant, but it's not going to be a COD killer.
Well, I mean, it's free to play, right? So
yeah, but do you really see So let's say the next Call of Duty comes out. Let's say XDefiant just explodes, right? Mm-hmm. Do you really think that that's going to take away from the COD community in a significant way?
I don't know. I think the COD standard multiplayer dies off pretty quick regardless, right? Like you have the launch hype, because they always launch it in like phases where it's like, here's the multiplayer and that's all you can play. It's like, here's the single player, everybody plays the single player. Then it's, here's the multiplayer, everybody plays the multiplayer. Then it's like, here's Warzone and zombies and whatever else, right? That comes after that.
Yeah.
But usually the standard multiplayer for COD dies off in terms of its popularity relatively fast, because it does get boring. You're not going to be watching endless videos of like how to best grind for weapons or something, you know? Like, I mean, how much can you just endlessly play those maps over and over again? It's what we used to do, but now there's more fun games to play that like capture your attention for longer. So I don't know. I think they're competing with a market that's sort of on the way down, but they're going to come in with a free-to-play angle, which maybe COD might have to answer with at some point, because they made Warzone free, the latest from
the Zone of War.
Yeah, from Call of Battlefield. They made Warzone free and not the standard multiplayer, which I would have figured it might have been the other way around to an extent, because
I can
Halo's now got a free multiplayer, right? Their base multiplayer is free, and that's a very robust multiplayer. I'd say as much, if not more so, than COD's multiplayer. I'd say it's on the same level in terms of like maps, modes, community-driven content for it now with the Forge, Halo Forge, and all that. Like it's a very impressive multiplayer setup. So yeah, that market is one I wouldn't want to be getting into. If I was a big AAA dev and they're like, compete with Halo, Call of Duty, and Battlefield, go. Here's a bunch of money, go.
It's not just that. It's the established live services too. Apex, Valorant, you got Rainbow Six Siege. So yeah, it's saturated. I'm not saying that multiplayer games are dead. It's just that everything seems to be like they found their lane, and there's nothing new coming in to disrupt it or change things other than stuff like the finals. It seems like it's all, if you don't like, or if you're trying to look for some new FPS multiplayer experience, you're probably not going to get it anytime soon.
Other than the finals.
Yes.
We are hyping the crap out of the finals. It's a good game. They deserve it. And I'm like, I just want it to stay. I don't want it to just evaporate in like a month after it comes out.
I would be so sad if it did.
Yeah. I feel like, what premise does it need to stick around? Like an esports scene or something? Like, do the seasons have to get insane? Yeah.
It just needs to be fun. And I think as long as it's fun, it'll keep the player base.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be esports. It doesn't need to be super relevant on Twitch or these other platforms. That all helps. That all definitely helps. But as long as it's enjoyable, because there's so many games that are not like relevant on Twitch that are massive because they're fun. That's what matters.
Yeah. It's true, man. It is true. So what have you been playing then this past week?
I played a game called Teardown. Have you heard of Teardown?
Yeah. I haven't played it, but I know a bit about it because I was very impressed by it as it from a developer story angle. Like one guy essentially made, I think, most of it. He might have had a little help later, and he made his own game engine for it because he was like, what I want to do is it's going to take so much custom coding. I may as well just make my own engine. And then I don't have to use Unreal or Unity or whatever to make it. But you want to say what it is?
Mm-hmm. So for those of you that aren't aware, Teardown is a voxel-based, actually very pretty. It has some, like, the lighting and everything it's even though it's voxel and kind of has a Minecraft sort of aesthetic to it, it's gorgeous. And the entire theme is that you are there to pretty much tear stuff down. You're blowing up walls, you're taking out buildings and stuff like that. And when many years ago, when I first originally learned about it, it looked like it was just a fun project, like you said, for a guy who was just trying to make a destructive engine, and he was gonna just call it there. But then the game came out, and I just assumed it was more destruction. It's essentially a heist game, which really surprised me. So you need to go around a map and figure out a route that you're going to take and destroy the map in a certain way that allow you to accomplish a heist, essentially, with a bunch of different stuff scattered around the map to steal it within a certain amount of time. And so it's kind of like a puzzle game at this. It's really fun. Yeah. And a lot more involved than I gave it credit for when I first bought it. It was not what I was expecting at all.
It's wild because you don't expect it to be fun based on like one dev making a really cool tech demo. Because you're like, he clearly had the idea of making a voxel-based destruction game. But I don't think he had that gameplay as the idea when he started, right? He probably got to a certain point, was like, oh, I can actually make a game with this now. I have to come up with a game. And that's usually where those guys fail, right? Is like they got a really cool concept and then just fail on the execution. Yeah. So I haven't played it, but that's really cool to hear from you that it's really fun. I know it's hugely successful too. It's sold like tons.
It's entirely open-ended, so you can accomplish the task however you want. So if you come up with a really unique strategy, you're pretty much rewarded for it. And I think that's what I love about it, is that there's an optimal way of probably doing each level, but you don't have to do each level like that and still be successful. And I love that creativity that comes from that kind of a design. And that's why I love destruction. I mean, I know not to go back to the finals, but destruction in video games is so cool because it gives you that freedom to tackle challenges in different ways. It's great.
No, I mean, there is like a kind of a euphoric element to just breaking things in a video game. You just kind of, you feel powerful, but also just watching things crumble and fall apart realistically. And I mean, that's kind of, Teardown does it better, I feel, than any other game because he built the engine around breaking things, and different elements have different breaking properties to them, and they'll break realistically, and it can only essentially, his level of destruction seems like it could only be done in his engine, right?
Yeah.
So
it's a little finicky. Like there are times where you'll be driving around with a safe inside of the back of your truck, and then you'd like take a turn and it goes through the wall of the truck. So it's like, it's not 100%, you know, but it's at least reasonably predictable enough where you can account for those things to happen. And once you learn the finickiness of the game, you can work around it.
Yeah. It's a big brain project. I mean, you see that stuff and you're like, dang, this dude must have just been full-time deving this for years and years and years to get it to that point. It's cool. So there was like an update or something recently? Is that why you popped into it? Yeah, I think
they came out with a DLC. I didn't get to it. I just played the base game. It was on sale for Steam and gave it a shot. And I'm glad that I did. Yeah.
Cool.
Switching gears. Did you see that TikTok video of a guy who makes you see that at all? He made what was it, 20,000 a month or something like that, making TikTok
Screw
videos.
This piece of shit. Yeah. Well, when you say making, you mean repurposing other people's TikTok or content, anything. Yeah.
He was like, this is how you make money on TikTok. And he goes through his day.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, I start my day going to the office and I write down on the wall my goals. My first goal, 1 million views. Second goal, making $500 today. And then he starts his day by watching other content creators, taking snippets from their like podcast or live streams, takes that, puts it on the top of a video. Then he goes and he doesn't even play the game, but he'll go to a Grand Theft Auto player YouTube thing, take gameplay from their content, put it at the bottom of his video. He splices the two together, and then he just makes it his own by splicing them together. Yeah. And then makes a ton of money apparently doing that. He'll
put a dumb meme on top of somebody else playing a game. And then he'll be like, it's mine, and posts it to TikTok. It's really shown what these unregulated, crappy platforms are doing to like content creation, because legally that guy could be screwed if somebody wanted to like sue him, because he's going to probably lose that case in terms of a fair use court thing. You know, like we have laws around
transformative.
Yeah. Or like, you know, that's what the court decides. Is it transformative enough? He's going to probably lose that case because it's BS basically.
Yeah. If I took The Lion King and then I spliced it down below with, you know, Inception, and then I'm like, here's my content. People are like, no, that's not your content. What do you mean?
Yeah, it's a tricky problem to solve because these platforms give the platform for people to steal the content. The platforms aren't designed to steal content, but obviously people are going to do that. So the platforms really need to be more responsible for it, rather than being like, everybody just sue everybody else and that's how you'll regulate it. It's like, well, that's, you know, the legal system unfortunately costs tons of money to sue somebody. You know, it's like, it's a huge ordeal to try and like protect yourself legally, especially if you're a content creator not making that much money and somebody's stealing all of your stuff just to repurpose it for TikTok or wherever.
I just thought what was so gross was how unabashed he was. Like
they don't know.
No shame at all.
They don't know. That's the wild thing, is like, I saw another post a while back, which was like, I forgot who it was, but it was a fairly prominent content creator who was just like, he reposted a message that somebody sent him that was like a guy that was like, thank you so much for making all this great content. I just reposted it on my Facebook channel and I got like 5 million views. And the guy was like, he doesn't understand that he's just telling me that he stole my stuff and reposted it somewhere else and got tons of views, you know?
Right.
And he was like thanking him for it. Like, cause they just don't understand at any sort of level that this is theft, or like, so that guy making the video seems like he's doing it without the understanding of like that it is theft. You know, he's showing how he makes money through
well, I think because he posted on Twitter, and I think he was responding to people, and he clearly now knows, you know, he's like, no, screw you, this is, you know, he didn't seem like a great guy. Off the couple comments that I saw. No,
and well, also, I mean, if you don't know that stealing somebody else's stuff and for your profit is a bad thing, then yeah, your moral compass is in a gray area, shall we say?
Very, maybe towards the darker side of things. You know, living in the shadows a bit more than the light. You know?
Most people just seem to be upset that he was making 20 grand off of it.
Yeah, that was also what was upsetting. Yes, like this is how you do it. That's okay. Wow, great.
Yeah, somebody was like, I do like important things. Like I help people. I'm a nurse. I'm a firefighter. And this guy's just like, yeah, I steal people's video game videos and repost them to TikTok and make 20 grand a month. Yeah. You're just like, dear God.
It's like, cool.
It's depressing for sure, man. I don't know what the end goal of all these platforms is. We tried to ban TikTok in the States at one point, but it's really not just TikTok. Facebook is just as guilty, in my opinion. people.
I mean, Facebook has terrible videos too.
Yeah, I mean, my Facebook account got demonetized because somebody re-uploaded my content, and then when I uploaded it to Facebook, it was like, oh, you're re-uploading somebody else's content. I'm like, no, they stole my content, and now your crappy platforms auto demonetizing me, and I haven't been able to get it reversed because Facebook is broken, like completely broken. It is wild, man. Some behind the scenes content. We look at it from the content creator perspective. I think a lot of other people were looking at it from like, screw this guy for making 20 grand a month doing this BS.
Well, I think people also recognize they can see that he's stealing content. Yeah. I think it was a bit of both, but for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see that they're making a new Tribes game? Do you remember Tribes?
Saw your Twitter account post that. Yeah, but I didn't know anything about it.
It's funny because people didn't seem that interested in the tweet either, because I think it's such an old franchise at this point that the hardcore fans of it even now are sort of like, I'll just play like Halo.
Well, the
or
hardcore
something.
fans are now like 50 years old because the original game came out so long ago.
And they don't have the skills to be good at that anymore, because it's got to be like one of the highest skill shooters ever made.
Insane.
It's truly insane. It's like Jason, who's like kind of resigned himself from like FPS gaming. Jason in our chat right now. You know, he's getting older and he's like, I'm done with competitive gaming because I'm slow and my brain isn't working as good as it used to be. And, you know, so he can't play those games anymore. But he probably played Tribes back in the day. It's like, who are you marketing the game to?
Just kick him over it.
Endlessly. Well, you know my love language, public humiliation, right?
Yeah.
Jason knows I mean.
It could be fun. It's just kind of ironic that there was a Tribes game. So there was a huge gap in between Tribes, right? Then there was the one that was the most recent, and now that's been like 10 years. So there's just like these giant gaps.
Well, the last Tribes game wasn't even really successful as far as I recall. Like it never really caught on.
True.
Was that Tribes Ascend or something?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I played it once and was like, this is neat. And then like nobody else played it and nobody wanted to hear me talk about Tribes. So I sort of stopped covering it as YouTube content and whatnot. But I mean, I used to play the heck out of that at LANs. It was a fun game. Like, it was so bizarre though. It was like before shooters knew what to do. They're just like, I don't know, here's a frisbee gun, and you shoot frisbees at people flying through the air.
You're going to ski down the slope, and then you're going to fly at Mach 5, and you're going to shoot people while at the same time, and you're going to totally not miss every shot.
Yeah, I think you missed like 9 out of 10 shots in that game. You know, like everything was just like miss. Oh, I hit that guy.
The speed at which you're traveling with some of those faster. They have like routes too. There's no way you can stop someone like that. Like your shot would have to be insane.
Well, you know what's funny is I believe, and this could be one of my historical inaccuracies that I've been doing on the podcast, but I believe the skiing mechanic in Tribes, which is where everybody has jetpacks in Tribes. Yep. And it's a giant open landscape game with hills, sloping hills. They basically didn't have good technology, so they couldn't make like rocky formation hills. They're all just they looked like some side-scrolling game with just smooth hills the whole way through. Yeah. And there was like a bug or something where if you hold the jetpack button down, or you hold jump down, I think, when you're going down a slope, it kind of glitches your character into this weird frictionless mode where you gain all of this speed going down the hill, and then you launch off the next hill. So this became the skill and movement mechanics in the game where if you were good and you knew how to launch off of hills properly and time your jumps and time your jetpack fuel, you could get up to like these insane speeds. And if you could aim it properly, there'd be flags like atop a tower on like one end of the map, and you could like hit those flags going like Mach 5, as you said. And if nobody was at your speed, they just couldn't catch you. They'd be like, that guy's gone. He's on the other, he's returned the flag. He won. Yeah. And so there's a huge level of skill there, which was cool. But I think it did come about through essentially like an unintended game mechanic that just became the meta. Yeah.
The thing is like something like that comes out, and because apparently it is, and everyone's clamoring that they like movement-based FPS games. I don't want to call them liars, but I think that they don't know what they really want.
Yeah.
Because I think that those games, while fun to play for a while, as soon as it starts to get like super sweaty, most people are going to peace out real quick.
I think games like Overwatch and potentially the finals are starting to figure out that if you want a movement-based game, you have to have the option for the player who doesn't want to be the tracer or the ninja Kenji or something. What's his name? Genji. Yeah. Not everybody can play that class because it's just insanity. You got to be like, your brain's just got to be on some crazy level. And it's like, okay, well, you can be the Reinhardt or the guy who's a little slower, more methodical, more tactical, still important, still a good skill ceiling, but sort of a different way to approach the combat. And I think the finals is trying to do that with the heavy classes a bit too, where it's like, in the medium classes, right? If you want a little bit of both worlds, you play medium. If you want to slow down your gameplay a bit, you play the heavy. If you want to be crazy, tweaked out of your mind, moving everywhere, then you play the light class. And I think giving players that option is great, because if you just go for the pure hardcore movement shooter where everybody's fast, I think you've kind of narrowed your audience down to like a much smaller
you do
group.
And as I was saying, I think a lot of these people that claim, because this is what Call of Duty, like a lot of the COD, which is ironic because there are highly movement based, technically skilled FPS games out there. It's your like Unreal tournaments and stuff like that.
Titanfall.
And they weren't successful because they weren't able to maintain an audience. Now you could argue maybe those games weren't very well made, they weren't very good, but I think it's just because it cannot garner a casual player base, and that casual player base is incredibly important for the longevity of a game, and they just die off because of it. They cannot appeal to that large audience.
Yeah. Well, Swiftly in chat mentioned the children who yearn for Titanfall. And remember when we had Tim Darkness 429 on the podcast? And I think I asked him if he thought if Titanfall like kind of came back like in its same form, would it still like do well today or something along those lines? And even he's like a huge fan of Titanfall, was like, no, like it wouldn't make it because it's like this hardcore movement shooter, and that's just, it doesn't have enough mainstream appeal. It's got this niche appeal, right? And you can't go AAA for niche appeal, right? You gotta find the balance there.
Yeah, it's tough because it's cool when you see people pulling off these crazy maneuvers, but if you're on the receiving end of it, it is demoralizing. Yeah.
Or you strike that perfect balance of Overwatch where it's like, okay, I can watch the crazy guy playing Genji, but the dude playing Reinhardt doesn't immediately get owned. Like if he knows that there's a crazy movement dude around, he'll get defensive and prepare for it. And like that guy's really got to do something. Yeah. So you don't have to be on that dude's level to necessarily counter his gameplay. So they found a good balance between it. So everybody can play and everybody can kind of find their lane in their class where they feel more comfortable.
Yep.
Even I have a hard time playing the light class in finals. It's tough. There's a lot of skill behind it, and you screw up and you're dead, right?
You're just gone. Yeah,
you got no hit points. One rocket from a heavy, you're done for.
Rocket, a sniper. You were just out in the open for too long, and you just get gunned down.
Still.
Yeah.
You stood still. You're dead.
you just stood still.
Yeah. So you playing some World War IIs lately?
Yeah. So did you hear about Scriptum at all?
I know. I don't. What's the latest? I mean, I've played it before.
So Scriptum, I think, was recently acquired by the people that made Squad. I don't know if I have this information right, but the server, like the game, basically died. There was no one playing. It had very few people, and then it got acquired by someone, I think, that turned the lights back on. And now it's got about 1,000 people playing. I played it yesterday, and I played it 2018, and it was fine.
I think that's about when I played it also.
Yeah, it was fine. And I was kind of hoping that it would have like progressed significantly more. It basically doesn't look as good as Hell Let Loose, and it kind of didn't really play any different from Hell Let Loose. So it just sort of felt like not a Wish.com version of that game, but I was kind of expecting it a little bit more. And I don't want to say I was let down, but It's like Hell Let Loose kind of, not that Hell Let Loose doesn't have its own problems right now too, technically, but
well, I tried to log on because I was like, I'm just gonna play some Hell Let Loose and just have some fun with it. And like the first round I got into, I think I got mortar striked 5 times in a row before seeing an enemy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I want to play this right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's a problem with those kind of games. Squad has the same issue. It's because it just comes out of nowhere. And one issue I had specifically with Scriptum is while graphically it's not very impressive, there's like not a lot of foliage and stuff like that, especially grass and stuff. It looks like a game that's a little bit outdated, at least in that department. I had such a hard time just seeing people. Like just the way that the graphics look. You like stare out into like the distance and you're like, I don't know what I'm even looking at right now.
And then you get sniped in the face.
And then you get sniped. I had a match where I think I died like 10 times in a row and I didn't even see the people that were taking me out. It's like, all right, time to play another game.
Those games are hard. It's like playing Rainbow Six, but on a giant field in the sense of like, you just have to know the maps like crazy. And you're like, people are going to come this way and I'm just going to hide in this bush and kill all of them. And it's rewarding to the people who put in the time, but it kills the game also because anyone new coming into the game is like, well, now I've just got owned so hard and now I don't want to play anymore. Yeah.
But they have a smaller budget and they have a smaller scale. They're not looking to sell millions and millions of copies and they don't need to have those COD numbers because they're an indie title. Yeah. So it doesn't need to be.
In their defense, I have had a good amount of fun playing Hell Let Loose as well. It's just kind of not a guarantee, or it's not a experience that has that consistent, like I'm gonna have some good rounds and some bad rounds. You could just have a bunch of bad rounds and that just might be your gaming for the night. I feel like those games you really need to like group up with a squad of people and like role play it to an extent. And
it's fun because I watch Two Inga Gamers. I'm sure you remember them, and they play those kinds of games every once in a while. They had a couple of great matches and they're like, we should have called it there because their next like 3 games was just getting slammed in the face by the game, right? Like the peaks and valleys of that genre is brutal.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to go for, because Hell Let Loose is a very realistic World War II game, and when you're going for the realism angle, they're not quite as concerned about like, we need to make the gameplay fair and fun all the time.
That's what always annoys me though.
Yeah.
Like why? They're like, oh, well, this is the layout that they had during World War II. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm not here just to be fodder. Like, I want to play the game. Like, what do you mean, right? So that can be very frustrating.
Yeah, it's like playing a realistic map of like the Battle of Gettysburg. You're like, yeah, one side's gonna get slaughtered here, and they're like, but it's real, and but it's also a game, right? Like it should be, So it's kind of a conundrum, and I think I'm in your camp too. Is I much more appreciate the game design element of games where I'm like, let's make this fun for everyone. Let's figure out a way so that it's engaging all the time and all that stuff. And then there's the sim element, which is like, let's make it realistic and put that realism over the gameplay. And that's where you lose me as a gamer. But I do understand the appeal to it to a degree. As I get older, I'm like, that authenticity starts to mean a little bit more to me.
But I think that's the word, is that you're looking for authentic. You're not looking for hyper realism, right? Like I want like D-Day. I want to be the hero of D-Day. I don't want to be the guy that was unfortunately didn't make it off the beach because statistically,
or the boat, right?
Yeah, like statistically, that's what was horrible about this time is that like you didn't make it off the beach. But for a game, you want to be the person who does, right? Like that's the whole. You want it to be authentic. You want to be the hero of the story, and
isn't it funny like how D-Day maps play out in multiplayer games too, where the guys on the beach end up doing pretty well because the second you poke your head up in a pillbox, every sniper on the beach is looking for the guy dumb enough to stick his head out of the pillbox.
Right. But in reality, it would have been, there's just so much lead flying down range. There's no way a sniper is taking you down, right? Or if you are, like you're taking out just an unbelievable amount of people.
Yeah, you've mowed down 100 dudes before a sniper is like getting set up to do something about it. God, but they end up going the opposite way in video games because of just the weird... Like the defenders have like these small areas where they have to peek a cliff ledge or through a pillbox. And so you've got one little horizon line that you have to worry about. And when they look over, they've got this giant beach area that they have to look at. And while there might be less cover on the beach, it's still a much longer time to target acquisition and a much quicker time for everyone on the beach to target acquisition. So it's just kind of interesting how those things where they're like, we're going to simulate it like real life. And you're like, well, when you don't have the fear of death,
there's no, when you can respawn. Yeah, 100%. The respawn thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is interesting to see how that, I've always found that fun. But I think the first game I tried that in, it might've been 1942 that did kind of a weird D-Day landing that was okay. But then that Half-Life mod that eventually became a full game did a pretty good D-Day. Remember the World War II Half-Life mod that became its own standalone? I forget what it's called now.
I do, but I'm forgetting what it's called. Yeah, I don't think I played it myself, but...
Yeah, that one did a decent D-Day portrayal that like went past the pillboxes and into a bunch of other stuff beyond that. But
yeah,
it always worked better in the single-player games where they could just build it up like in Medal of Honor and stuff. The Medal of Honor D-Day.
We never got that in Battlefield 5.
Yeah, well, BF5 was like, you don't want the big battles, right? You want
want the unknown stuff. It's like, I mean, sure, but you could have actually done other like iconic ones as well.
Yeah, you want the battle of this little French town in the countryside. You're like, no, I want like Stalingrad, man. Like, give me the big stuff.
Yeah.
Still, they finally did Iwo Jima at the end of Battlefield 5.
And it's some of their best maps, too.
I would argue that the Pacific DLC is one of the best Battlefield DLCs, like, period. Yeah. It's they
did a really good job with it.
Yeah, really solid. And then they're like, oh, that's good. All right, next game.
Yeah, I'm not going to a concert to hear the song you played once or twice. I want the classics. I want the big moments, right? I want the big maps.
Yeah. How excited would you be if DICE just out of nowhere dropped the Russian DLC for Battlefield 5?
There's no way. I mean,
there's no way. There's absolutely no way they would do it. But like on a 1 to 10, like what would your excitement level?
I'd be a solid like 8 or 9 for sure. Yeah,
right.
I'd be up there. Yeah,
me too.
Incredible.
That would be like such a cool thing for them to do. They're not going to do it because they're DICE and they're AAA and they work on the next game and they don't do DLC stuff.
I mean, they're hardly pumping out content for 2042.
Yeah. Well, and the Battle of the Bulge and the El Alamein, did I get that? One of the big desert map.
I got you. Yep.
Those ones were supposed to be for Battlefield 5, and then they're just like, well, we're just gonna wrap up the content and put those into Portal for 2042.
Portal. I did not know that was the case.
Yeah, well, it was alluded to. I think Alan Kurtz, who no longer works at DICE or somebody, tweeted it out and was sort of like, "Oh, you think those maps were meant for like 2042 or something like that?"
Those maps are not good, by the way.
They're pretty authentic to the original 1942 maps, which were not good by today's standards, right?
And they were also balanced around the idea that you cannot see across the map.
Yeah,
right?
the fog of war in those games was insane.
Yeah, you could see like 2 feet in front of you, and that was it.
Yeah, for people who have only been gaming since like the 2010s, games used to do this cool thing where you couldn't render all these polygons and things, and they didn't have good level of detail scaling at distance or like cool trickery. So instead, they would just create a fog of war where anything beyond like 200-300 meters would just become a gray mist. Yep. And then the game would not render any of that stuff. So you didn't have to worry about overloading your pitiful GPU at that time. And that's what all the Battlefield games looked like. You'd be flying and things would be appearing in front of you as you flew towards it.
And the maps were balanced around that too.
Yeah, all the gameplay was balanced around not being able to see somebody at certain distances away from you.
You couldn't just snipe someone from across the map, or like if you're on Wake Island, you couldn't just take a shot at someone on the other side, potentially, right?
Yeah. So porting a 1942 era desert map into 2042 with no cover and sight lines that go like a mile. It's just like, hey, you want to run to objective D? Across the desert.
Good luck. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, what they accurately recreated some of the trudgery of the like 1942 experience, which is like, yeah, you could just be running for like 2 minutes and then some sniper is gonna kill you because that's what the game is, you know?
Yeah.
They didn't quite know how to do it.
It's cool, and I'm glad they did it, but it doesn't mean I have to want to play on that map.
They were pioneers, man, because nobody else made big open world games at that time. So they're like, how do we do shooters at like giant distances? I don't know, try this. And like some of it worked, some of it didn't. They made it significantly better over the years. But yeah, the first iteration, great for its time, but yeah, you can't just port it.
I have so many great memories. I did not play 1942?
Yeah.
1942 at launch. I actually never played it. I think I may have played back once, but
it's hard to go back to if you haven't played it for sure, because you're like, oh, this is garbage, right?
Yeah, it was pretty rough. I think I played it like a decade ago or something like that.
Yeah.
I played my big, really the pretty much big introduction for PC gaming FPS wise was Battlefield 2. That's where I fell in love with not only the franchise, but just FPS games on PC.
Yeah. Dude, those choppers in BF2, man, those things
you could do anything with those things.
Yeah. You're just God. You
really were.
I remember shutting down the enemy team's aircraft carriers when they would spawn. You know, you would spawn trap them back to the carrier, and then the attack helicopter would just be like, who wants to spawn next? And you'd just be like hovering above them. It was so broken.
You could do barrel rolls, like real fast barrel rolls too. Yeah. You could make yourself such a difficult target to take down. Like little birds are tough to take out nowadays. Maybe I'm just misremembering, but they were wild back then.
Yeah, well, it was the attack helis had crazy maneuverability too.
Yeah.
And
then the TV missile, you just clicked where you wanted it to go. You just kept clicking and it would just guide it towards the target. So you just kept clicking on the tank and just right into the tank.
Yeah. Yeah. It was that and then it became about the TVs to chopper stuff. I liked how they recreated that well in BF3 and BF4 to an extent. Yeah.
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 Good skill. It's good skill ceiling. It's good.
One day we'll have it. The next game's got to be modern, right? It's got to be, right? I mean, it's going to be, I don't know. I dream one day, Matt, we're going to hop into that helicopter again and we're going to TV missile some stuff. Maybe.
Yeah, I would say we could do that for Battlefield 2042, but they don't have TV missiles in the attack helicopters.
And the attack helicopters suck.
Yes, they do.
They're so bad. Now you can do the stealth chopper and just bomb people. Who the heck wants to do that? What a dumb vehicle. A helicopter that bombs. I can think of I can't think of a less effective weapon in actual war. Like it works in 2042.
Oh, hey, there's a helicopter flying on over. Oh, it's slowly. Oh, those are bombs. Oh, are we gonna do anything about that? No.
Nobody shoot the slow moving, loud object that has to get relatively close to us to drop bombs.
Loud too.
Yeah. Super.
Like helicopters are so obvious, right?
The idea of a stealth chopper, right? Like it's going to be loud AF, you know?
Yeah.
Like stealth means it doesn't show up on radar. You're going to see it coming.
You're going to hear it coming from a mile away. I had some helicopters. They were doing a military test nearby a couple years ago, and it scared me because it was like
shakes the house.
My entire room was shaking. Right. And I don't even think they were that close to where and everything. I was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, are the Russians invading?
So imagine that. You're going to know it's coming. You're going to hear it coming.
Yeah. It's a silly thing. It's not as enjoyable at all compared to. In fact, are the stealth helicopters even twin seats? I don't think they are.
I think that one is. I think you can't have a gunner, I think.
I've done so little piloting in 2042 because they just made it less enjoyable, really.
Yeah,
like all the fun skill stuff is not quite there.
Agreed.
Any games you're looking forward to next week, man?
Oh man, I had them all listed in my brain, and now I can't remember. Isn't so the Avatar game? I don't know if it comes out next week, but Avatar is coming out like on the 7th or 8th, I think, and I'll be checking that out. The new season of Rainbow Six Siege launches, I think tomorrow or the day before if you're on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Is there games coming out? I think there's some.
In terms of what's coming out really soon, there's not too much on my radar. But I do want to play some Foxhole. I've been watching
Oh yeah.
I've been watching Devil Dog, who's a YouTuber, and he's been playing a lot of Foxhole lately, and I've been watching it and it looks really cool.
LevelCap.
What?
How could we forget about the day before?
Oh yeah. Right. Oh yeah, that's also coming out on the 7th, right?
Yeah, 7th or 8th or something. Yep.
Yeah, that'll be a good meme game for sure.
Mm-hmm. There's also a new map, I believe, a new update coming for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'll probably check that out for a day or two.
Anything? Like oh yeah. The other little bit of news was the new COD leaked. Matt, aren't you excited about the next COD? Aren't you hyped for it already? Is it too soon to get hyped?
It might be too soon to hype for the next Call of Duty.
Yeah,
I'm already so deep into this one.
Yeah. They're just a money machine over there, dude. It's blatant. It's kind of hard to not see it because the game just came out and they're like, next game's leaking.
Well, it leaked. Are you implying that they leaked it intentionally?
I don't know. Yeah, it could have easily not been an intentional leak. I mean, there's thousands of people that work on the games. I'm sure there's a leak somewhere, but yeah. It's like they launch these things every year, so obviously the announcement's probably not that far away. But it's going to be a Black Ops game, potentially set during early Gulf War, CIA, blah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really mind the setting. That's not my favorite setting, I'll be honest, but a good game's a good game. If they can make it work, then awesome. It's Treyarch, and I hear that they've gotten a lot of years into this dev cycle, so keep my fingers crossed that is indicative of something special and that they'll be able to knock it out of the park. But yeah, with Call of Duty, it's kind of a flip of the coin sometimes, and so
it's a behemoth, man. You never know what to expect from them, but that's not true. To expect something that's not particularly too different from the last game, right? So
they play it safe.
Yeah, everything's played safe. And I guess if I was a huge COD fan, that would be great because I'm a Battlefield fan. And if Battlefield changed too much between titles, I'd be like, hey, what are you guys doing?
What the hell are you doing?
I mean, 2042 changed it enough and people lost their crap. So they're like, stop being creative.
And the things that they changed weren't the problem. The problems were the maps. Really.
Yeah, if the game had been like solid designed with these weird ideas behind it, I think people would have been fine. It's kind of like BF1 took a lot of risks, and I enjoyed a lot of those risks that they took. I thought they played out really well, but it was just a well-designed, polished game. If your game is good,
I think people don't give a damn. Like if it's fun, they can look past the changes because it's fun.
Yeah,
but
if it's your bad, core then yeah. People don't know how to blame the right thing, basically.
Yeah.
It's bad because of the cheesy lines from the specialists, which were terrible.
They were terrible.
That's not why if the rest of the game was great, then that wouldn't have mattered, right?
They would have been a meme from a great game.
Yeah. And then that's funny that one of their updates was like, we've removed the specialist voice lines at the end of the round.
I thought they were going to come back. They never did. They never brought them back. I thought they were going to like overhaul the lines. They just gave up on it. And it's good because there's no reason to have them. It's not required. You didn't you wanted to be Overwatch style where they all have character and people get attached to those characters in unique ways so that they can relate to them because that sells more skins. But you clearly didn't polish it enough to get to that point.
The most I felt connected to my characters in a Battlefield game was Battlefield 5. That I'm not talking about the custom weird skins you could buy where you're like a general or something like that and you look very different.
Cruise.
Yeah. But the ones where you just kind of start mixing and matching the different cosmetics that you unlock as you go. I ended up making some like really cool soldiers that I liked the look of and kind of felt really purpose built for their missions, like my medic had like this cool helmet that was like a shield and it had like a red cross on it. I'm like, cool, he's like this combat medic dude. And I don't know, I just really liked that, but they didn't have any quippy lines or it wasn't like Boris the medic, it was like
Boris is an engineer, but I hear you.
Yeah. They also didn't add Russians to BF5, so nobody would be named Boris, but
Yeah, I hear you. I do.
I'm down with soldier cosmetics and customization. Just don't make them these dumb, quippy people. It's just like, give me what,
Yeah.
all this backstory and blah, 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 blah.
I agree. Yeah. Completely.
Well, that wraps it up for our episode of Old Men Talking About Things They Don't Like in Video Games.
Yells at the sky, damn you!
Back in my day, we had tribes and you had to shoot frisbees at each other and we liked it. Did you play Tribes?
I see what you're saying. Okay, I got you.
The disc launcher is the frisbee gun.
Yeah.
Like frisbees?
I got you. Yeah, my mind went, you were so old that you were a part of a tribe.
And we threw frisbees at each other.
Frisbees at each other. I wasn't tracking, so apologies.
Gotcha. It's fair.
I'm slow because boomer.
God, I wish I had gameplay. I was trying to find gameplay clips the other day for old games that I played growing up, because I was making a video about like the games I played in the 90s and like early 2000s, and nobody recorded any of that because there was no method to do it. So all you have are trailers or crazy people who have gone back and loaded up the games on the like Windows 95 and DOS platforms and figured out a way to capture them with modern hardware. Like, thank you guys for doing that, because otherwise there's nothing good video evidence of these games existing, or there's like a 200 resolution commercial from like the 90s, and you're like, what am I looking at? Is that a game? I can't tell.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. There wasn't a lot of great recording tools back then.
Yeah.
Dark Age of Camelot was like my first MMO, and I went back and watched some videos of it, and it looks terrible. Like, it looks so bad.
Yeah.
And it's because, there's not a lot of footage of it either, because that just wasn't a thing.
Yeah, well, you hit record back in the day on Fraps. And Fraps is fairly modern by those standards as well.
Yes.
And that would still cut your frame rate in half. So if you're willing to lose half of your frame rate to record massive files onto your poor little hard drive,
and you didn't have a great frame rate to begin with, probably in the first place. And
also no outlet for that footage. You would have just had to basically plan on needing it at some point, like in the distant future.
Yeah.
But there is a cool YouTube channel that does a lot of that old school stuff and captures it really well. So it's kind of neat to go back and see it at like decent resolutions. Even though the games are bad or low bit rate and whatnot, it's recorded at a higher bit rate, so it looks decent. But
nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up the pod here. Thank you guys so much for dropping by. Thank you for being Patreon members. And if you're not a Patreon member, check it out. We got links for it in the video description. It's how we make our money. It's how Matt buys his hot body pillows. You know it. It's also what affords Matt the time to look up really meaningful, inspirational quotes to leave you guys with at the end of the show. Hit him, Matt.
My advice is take each day one day at a time.
It's like almost identical to the thing you said, like where you're like one step at a time or 1 foot before the other or something.
I'm sorry. Was my advice not good enough for you?
I would like some interesting original stuff. Okay,
do I look like a philosopher over here? I play video games for a living. You want me to sit in my meditation chamber and think about the universe and what it means to be a human being and come up with some crazy short quip that I can describe for you at the end of the podcast like I'm some sort of witty I'm out. That's all I got.
Can you imagine anybody hearing that quote 1 day at a time and they'll be like, oh, you know what? I was going to do it 5 at a time, but Matt said 1 day at a time. So my life has changed. You think anybody heard that was like, what? Change their plans?
You got to take it in pieces, right? Like things get a little overwhelming. You got a lot on your plate. Maybe you got a new job, you got a new girlfriend. Maybe you're a little stressed about some other stuff. Take it 1 day at a time. Okay. That's all you can do. You don't got to look too far in the future. 1 day at a time. It's good advice, LevelCap. How about you shove it up your cap, your LevelCap?
I finally got you angry enough to make an insult, Matt. shove it up your cat. We'll leave you guys there with Matimi0's excellent insults. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace out.
Bye-bye.